My name is Les Heinz. I'm the president of the National Capital Chesapeake Bay chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. And after that title, I need oxygen. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've got you. There have been a number of us that have been here on campus all day. We do an event called FaceTime with the Pros where we do seminars and career counseling for journalism and media students. And I just want to say that the university has been very gracious. It's great to be here. This is a great venue. Thank you very much. And I'll also say that most of us have been in blue jeans, and looking out at the audience, I would just like to say that we really dress up well. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize a group of individuals without whom this event would not have been possible. At the top of that list are the members of the Gold and Silver Circle Committee, led by Committee Chair Jeff Kramer. I'd also like to recognize our awards co-chair, Fran Murphy, for stepping up in the face of a unique set of challenges. Also tonight, we are adding something new to the program. We will be recognizing recipients of our student awards, which creates a nice bookend effect to the Gold and Silver Circle. And I'd like to acknowledge our Education Committee Chair, Peter Bickford, for pulling all of that together. Additionally, it's important to point out that nothing we do would be possible without the hard work and dedication demonstrated by our professional staff. Our executive director is Carol Wynn. Our associate director is Ashlyn McKeithen. Our awards and judging coordinator is Sharon Sobel. And the three of them, trust me, are rock stars. Thank you. Lastly, we are honored tonight to have with us several past inductees into the Gold and Silver Circle. If you are a current member of the Gold or Silver Circle, I'd ask that you stand up and be recognized. This is a great group. Now to the business at hand. Tonight we gather to celebrate 9 professionals who represent a lifetime of achievement and the very best of our business. Ernie Bauer, Sid Davis, John Davis, Doreen Gensler, you can clap, Glenn Harris, Sue Kopen-Katseff, Bruce Rader, John Rydell, where is she? And Donna Weston. These professionals now join an elite group that has been described by some as the National Academy's Hall of Fame. We call it the Gold and Silver Circles. 25 years of service for silver, 50 for gold. Induction into this group is one of the highest honors in the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Each one of you has been nominated by your peers. You've been vetted by the committee and ultimately approved for induction by the full board of governors of this chapter. Those of you who are currently in the circle and those of you who are being inducted tonight represent the very best of who we are. You have served your profession and your community with honor and distinction, which is something that perhaps we should talk a little bit more about in our industry. As I sat down to decide what to say here tonight, it was very hard to get past what's been happening in our business over the last few months. My wife refers to it as the elephant in the room whenever we get together. Whether you work in journalism, in entertainment, or in marketing, what holds us together, what binds us together, is that we are able to do what we do because we live in a country that holds free speech and a free press among its highest ideals. Still, the general public, our viewers, appear divided over whether our profession is the victim of unfair attacks or suffering from wounds that are self-inflicted. Former President George W. Bush recently said that he considers the media indispensable to democracy. Scott Pelley of CBS News took it one step further, saying, "There is no democracy without journalism," and that the quality of our democracy is tied directly to the quality of our journalism. Which brings me back to the 9 of you who are being inducted into the Gold and Silver Circle tonight. If you agree, like I do, that the quality of our democracy is tied to how well we do our job, then when I look at the 9 of you, I feel really good about where we are. Thank you for coming tonight. This is a great event. If you've never been to one of these before, you're likely to shed a tear or laugh so hard that your belly hurts. It's now my honor to introduce our 2 hosts for tonight's festivities. From WUSA 9, Adam Longo, and formerly of WJLA and WUSA, as well as a member of the Silver Circle, correct? Ladies and gentlemen, Maureen Bunyan.
Hello. Oh, sit down. Come on. Adam, thank you so much for arranging that. That was heartfelt, and it looked so natural. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I am so pleased to be here with you tonight, especially with my colleague, Adam Longo.
So tonight we're celebrating the best of our business, Maureen of course included, people who have made an outstanding contribution to our regional TV world. Of course, it is an honor for me to be sharing the stage with a Silver Circle Award star, Maureen Bunyan. And awkward moment, kind of, to tell Maureen I knew you when I was this big. Because my very first television internship in 1998, when I was a student here at the University of Maryland, #FearTheTurtle, I worked with Maureen at Religion and Ethics News Weekly for PBS, so it's a privilege after so many years to be back standing next to you.
I'm so proud, Adam. You turned out beautifully, I must say. We would like to thank our Gold and Silver Circle patrons for their support of this event, their most generous support. Please hold your applause. Thank you to the Comcast Sports Network, the University of Maryland's Philip Merrill College of Journalism, NBC4, WAVY, and Fox 43.
Okay, so now on with the show, right? In the fast-paced world of television, the first 25 years, you guys know this, it can just go by in a flash. But we're going to start with a man who held on for 50 years, okay? Already in the Silver Circle, but now going for the gold. It was 1967 when he got his start at Channel 9. And in a few short years, he was directing the #1 newscast in D.C. Today, lots of stars from Comcast Sports and local news can say that they have taken a cue from Ernie Bauer.
In 1967, 20-year-old Ernie Bauer came to Broadcast House to work as a part-time copy boy with Sam Donaldson and Warner Wolf. Ernie couldn't type, but he played well on the station's football team, so he was selected to join the trainee program. First assignment, operating the puppets on the Rader Kids Show.
Well, good morning.
Good morning, Ranger. Today is the day a lot more boys and girls start school, right?
That's
and
right.
Guess what?
Guess what?
We
What?
do too.
We do?
Gordon Peterson here with Max Robinson.
In 1971, I began co-anchoring the 6 and 11 p.m. newscasts with Max Robinson. Ernie, after a nationwide search, was selected as the director.
5 seconds. Ready, camera, 3. Lose it, 3, 2, 1, track. Coming out to effects 1, and Gordon Peterson was at the Chiron.
A newscast control room is hectic.
Take 2.
Credit Ernie for Warner Wolf's legendary verbal cue.
He's leading to a tape about the Milwaukee Bucks and the Golden State Warriors. And he goes, hey, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Golden State Warriors were playing today. Heck of a game. And at that point, he wanted to see the video of the game. And I'm doing 100 things. I don't hear that. Finally, he just goes, hey, Ernie, roll the Jabbar tape. And I hear that, and boom, so now I know the tape's up. So afterwards, we went down, and I said, Warner, I'm sorry. I just didn't hear it, and I was busy. And he said, well, let's come up with something. And so I said, well, how about this? And he said this. And
let's go to the videotape of last night's Philadelphia-San Antonio game.
Also in 1971, a new employee, Lucille Huddleston, caught Ernie's eye.
It had to be you.
They will celebrate their 44th wedding anniversary next month.
It had to be you.
Now, here's Warner.
Ernie also excelled at producing and directing sports programming, like The Warner Wolf Show, The Joe Gibbs Show, and Redskins Sidelines.
Thank you, and welcome to our final regular season Redskins Sideline.
Fathers, be good to your daughters.
In 1979, the year daughter Kayleen was born, Ernie came up with the idea to broadcast Sidelines from Children's Hospital.
Director Ernie Bauer, who will call every shot in the control room.
As Ernie approached his 10th year of directing the news, Glenn Brenner and I brought him on set to congratulate him on an award from NATAS.
This guy is a guy who could literally direct the show in his sleep, and he has on several occasions. But no, if anybody, he is responsible for a good deal of the success here at Channel 9.
He saved your tail more than once.
That's right.
In 1983, son Ernest Kevin was born, and Ernie, now working at Fox 5, led WTTG's California coverage of the Redskins' first Super Bowl win. Ernie worked on 6 other Super Bowls for Fox and CBS, freelancing as the commercial timeout signaling Red Hat. In 1999, Ernie became executive producer for live sports remotes for Home Team Sports, which became Comcast Sports Net. In 2001, he was the key in developing Comcast's first news programming and worked again with Steve Buckantz and Chick Hernandez. Though officially retired from Comcast in 2010, Ernie continues as a valuable freelancer. His greatest freelance assignment? The opportunity to direct with his son as his TD. Through the years, Ernie has chosen to stay in the D.C. area to work. The Gold Circle recognizes his many career achievements, but we know Ernie best for turning colleagues into friends, maintaining a sense of humor under pressure, and taking the greatest pride in his family.
Through the years, I've never been afraid. I've loved the life we've made, and I'm so glad I stayed right here with you through the years.
Ernie Bauer, ladies and gentlemen. He's directing this program. Get a shot of your face, Ernie, right here. It's 15 years here at the station. Ernie Bauer, right there. Our pal.
I asked Lucille to come up because you know she's the brains behind this guy. Give her a round of applause. Ernie.
Can I help present?
Please.
You come up here.
Photographers, where are you?
Wait, come, Maureen, you be over here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Get rid of those pictures. I owe money in this town. I want to thank NATAS and the Board of Governors and all the recipients here tonight. I want to thank Rebecca Schulte and Comcast Sportsnet. When I went to Rebecca and told her that I was going to retire, the first words out of her mouth was, "Let's have a party." Now, you can take that two ways, okay? I took it, well, you know, she wants to have a party for me. The other part was, well, thank God we got rid of him. And I also want to say that it's nice that you have me up here first because in the Gold Circle thing, it's, you know, it's the early bird special, you know. And this is, you know, this was a big night for me. So big that I got new tennis balls for my walker to get up here. I wonder what the Board of Governors was thinking when they sat down to determine this. Now, Silver Circle, you know, there's 7 people that are getting into that. They get to the Gold Circle, well, the herd gets thinned at some point, you know. So they have Mr. Davis, Sid Davis, who I've met through mutual friends, Jim, the great Jim Snyder, and even greater Anne-Marie Snyder, and we've been friends for years. Well, Sid Davis, and you saw in the biography, I mean, he was at the Kennedy assassination. He was on the plane with Lyndon Johnson. So they go, well, we got him. Do we have anybody else? Well, we can't just put one person up there. Well, we got a guy that ran Oswald Rabbit and Marvin Monkey. Is he breathing? Throw him in. So, in years in the past, we used to do credits, and I thought, and credits were good. I mean, I think that was important. I know my family always got a kick of seeing my name up there, but they also became political and tough because you would either forget somebody or misspell their name or put them in the wrong thing. So, with that in mind, I just want to say this: I want to thank everybody who I ever met, but especially the bartender at the cocktail reception. Now, the other thing is that you have to know your audience. You have to know the parameters of where you can go and not go. So there are stories that you just can't tell. So I'm not going to tell you the story about how Chris Gordon and I sat outside the labor room at Holy Cross Hospital with a bottle of scotch while Glenn Brenner and his wife were in the labor room having their first child, and how Glenn came out every 10 minutes and we threw him a shot, and then he would go back in. I'm not going to tell you the story about how when I directed the show A.M. Washington at Channel 7, I directed with a lady, very nice lady, Ruth Hudgens, and a fellow named Ed Walker. Now, a lot of people know who Ed Walker is. A lot of people don't know who Ed Walker is, but Ed Walker was blind. So that changed some challenges as far as directing. He had an earpiece, and I would say, you know, face right, face left, depending on the camera. But I also, you know, I'd say 10 seconds, we're coming back, and I'd go, Ed, 5 seconds. Ed, by the way, the person you're about to interview is completely naked. But he is wearing a straw hat, so don't worry about that. And I'm not going to tell you the story about how one night Gordon Peterson, Glenn Brenner, Pat Collins, Mike Buchanan, Frank Herzog, and I closed the Dancing Crab. And we went to Tasty Diner. And Frank and I left early. Before the rest of them, Frank decided that he was going to moon them in the Tasty Diner, and how he explained to the policeman, who I saw coming, why his pants were at his knees at 2 o'clock in the morning on Cheltenham Drive in Bethesda, Maryland. And Buck and Chick, you're off the hook. I'm not telling any stories about you. 50 years. The way I can relate this, and this is in my mind,
There are two movies that I'm a big fan of. And oh, by the way, let me just say this as I get into this. I'm the Dick Vermeil of speaking. I cry at flowers blooming, okay? So you're going to have to hold me on this. There's two movies that I relate to. One is called It's a Wonderful Life, and the other is called Carousel, the musical Carousel. Now, all of you have seen A Wonderful Life, and if you haven't, get yourself a television set. But in A Wonderful Life, the first scene is Clarence the Angel talking to his boss, and they're looking down at George Bailey's life, and they're just kind of going over it. In Carousel, the main character is Billy Bigelow, and he's with the Star Master, and they're sitting up there taking inventory on his life. So I'm going to bear with me while I sort of do a skit or a scenario based on that kind of premise. So here we go. So who do we got next? Well, we got this guy, Ernie Bauer. Well, what did he do? Well, what's he got going? Well, he's going to be born in Bethesda, Maryland, and he's going to grow up in Bethesda with wonderful family, and he's going to meet people that are going to be his friends. He's going to meet them at 5, 6, 7 years old. They're going to be his friends 60 years later. And he's going to grow up in sort of this nostalgic era that people talk about where you can go out and play and do and things like that. And just going to have a great time. He's going to go to Our Lady of Lourdes in Bethesda, and then he's going to go to BCC High School and just have a great time. When he graduates from BCC, he's kind of floundering around. He goes to college, and that's not working out too well. And it's also in 1965 and 66 when there's a terrible war going on, and he's eligible for the draft. He's number 1A. He's going to get drafted. He's going to Vietnam. But we took care of that. We're going to get him in the Maryland National Guard. And this is an important thing because he gets in the Maryland National Guard a week before the draft hits him. So instead of going to Vietnam, he goes to Fort Dix, he does basic training, he comes back, and he ends up getting a job at Channel 9. Now, he said, now what we're going to do is going to put him into broadcasting. And broadcasting he's going to love. The most creative thing that he could be in, the most exciting thing. And he's going to work at Channel 9, and he's going to meet and work with people for over 50 years at various stations, and meet and work with some of the great talent that you'll ever see. And there will be a fellow named Mick Colgan who's going to take him under his wing and teach him how to treat people, how to act, how to be somebody that knows that everybody that's involved in the broadcast is a team. Nobody's better than the other person. And Mick is going to take him under his wing and mentor him that way. And the other thing is the people that are going to carry him through his career are the TDs, the audio person, the stage manager, the Chiron operator, the graphic artist, the associate producer, the ADs, producers, the management, all those people. They're the reason why he has any success whatsoever. And he's going to do it for over 50 years. And he's just going to love it. Well, that's cool. What about his personal life? That's where we do our best work. In 1971, a young lady named Lucille Huddleston graduates from Maryland. And she gets a job at the same station that he's working at. And he meets her. He remembers where he met her. He remembers who introduces. He remembers what she's wearing. And that's in May of '71. He immediately jumps into action, and 6 months later, he asks her out. And they go to a movie at the Uptown Theater called Fiddler on the Roof. And they come out, and she holds his hand, and he's cooked. They marry 2 years later, and Lucille has her own success story that, she worked at MAL in the promotion department. She's an accomplished singer, actress. She works she produces a Cherry Blossom Parade. She produces Tony Perkins that allows him to go to the network, produces Holly Morris, does things for the Fox Morning News. And she's her own success. Is she pretty? Oh, are you kidding? When they walk in a room, even she makes even Ernie look good. They get married in 1973, and they're married for over 43 years and counting. And they have 2 kids. They have a daughter named Kayleen Noni Bauer. And she's born, and the night that she's born, the nurses say, it's a girl, and look at those eyelashes. And she bats them at Ernie for the rest of her life. She grows up to be a beautiful, successful woman. She goes to Boston College and graduates magna cum laude. To this day, Ernie can't spell. And she works for the Audi Corporation, and she becomes an executive and a manager, and she meets a fellow named Sean O'Black, and they get married, and Sean's not only Ernie's son-in-law, but he's his friend. And they have 2 children, Colin William and Claire Lucille. Well, you said he had 2 kids. Oh, yeah, he had a son, Ernest Kevin Huddleston Bauer. That's a lot of names. Yeah, well, I think they were going to add more, but they just got tired of writing. Ernest grows up, we think, and he goes to Clemson University. Didn't they win a national championship? Yeah, but that's not a big deal. And Ernest gets involved and goes in the broadcasting business and becomes one of the most successful technical directors in the business. He works for the NFL on Fox, WWE World Wrestling, baseball, basketball, lacrosse, and he's just as good as it can get. And he meets a girl named Vanessa. Now, one thing that Ernest gets from not only his dad, but his grandfather and his uncle, is that they marry way over their heads. And Vanessa and Ernest get married, and they have a little girl named Eleanor Catherine. So Ernie has 3 grandchildren. Yep, he does. And he thinks about this line that he hears all the time, that if he'd known grandchildren would be this much fun, he'd have had them first. So that's it? Well, yeah, that's it. He said, well, wait a minute, I'm looking through this thing. There's no bad times. Well, yeah, the bosses sometimes, they pluck somebody out. They say, look, this guy's skating through life, and he's going to have wonderful times for the rest of his life. And Ernie happened to be one of them. Wow. Will you thank us? Oh, yeah, every day of his life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ernie, and congratulations to you and Lucille and the whole family. And we're all so very proud to have you not only as a colleague, but also as a friend over these years. Thank you so much. Now, on nights like this, especially a beautiful night like this, the stars come out to play. But as you might imagine, in our business, not all of the stars are in front of the camera. Some shine their light behind the scenes. That's why we've saved a place tonight for WRC's Donna Weston in the Silver Circle.
Success in the TV business really is a team effort. For every person in front of the camera, there is a group of writers, producers, editors, and photographers behind the camera working to create the magic of television. I've known Donna Weston for a few days now, which is really kind of funny since it feels like we've worked here forever. First, as our Vice President of Advertising and Promotion, currently as our Vice President of Community Affairs. You know, we have a saying here at NBC4, we're working for you. Donna just doesn't say it, she lives it. And she's got the hardware to prove it. Emmys, Promax. She's won a number of distinguished honors along the way, culminating in tonight's Silver Circle Awards. But if I know Donna, it's not the accolades that matter, it's the people she's worked with along the way.
My words to describe Donna Weston? Eagle eye. Definitely.
Integrity.
Swagger. I have to go with wise.
She thinks she's always right.
Determined.
Warm, friendly, creative.
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 New Englander.
Whenever Donna's in a bad mood, or she's stressed out, or she's feeling a little blue, there's one surefire way to snap her out of it. Send her the baffled boxer. Works every time.
Her love and devotion to her family, especially her mama.
I've always told Donna that I wanted to work in her department because of how cool I thought she managed her employees.
Taking pictures. And it's because of you that I've been able to grow this into part of my job, and it makes me just want to come to work every day, and that's all because of you.
Thank you so much, because you brought me on board here, and I love it here at NBC4, and you really helped me hone my writing skills and maybe become a better producer.
I would not be here without you. So for that, I owe you a huge thank you. You're not only a great colleague, but you are also a great friend.
It's been an honor to work with you, Donna, all of these years.
It was great working with you. And congratulations.
Congratulations on all your success and your continued dedication to the best of local broadcasting. And go Sox!
We love you very much.
That I am glad that the video gods have been listening and have graced you and blessed you with the Silver Circle Awards. Congratulations.
Donna Weston, I am clapping for you.
Donna, you and I have worked together for 17 years, and in that time we've had a lot of fun. We've learned some Espanol, we've written some jingles, and we've also written some haikus. I've written a haiku for you. You are loyal, passionate, bleed peacock, brand, best daughter. Silver? You are gold.
So here it is, Donna, the coveted Silver Circle Award for more than 25 years of outstanding work in the broadcasting industry. Congratulations from all of us here at NBC4. You've earned it.
Well, I want to thank Stephen Kaiser, who I know produced that tape, and everyone else who had a hand in making that video. You know, the people that I work with on a regular basis know how hard it was for me to not ask to see that tape ahead of time. But it couldn't have been more wonderful and more special, and a lot of surprises in there, and I'm trying not to weep. This truly is an honor, and I'd like to thank the Silver Circle Selection Committee and the Board of Governors. I'd like to thank everybody at the station who supported this nomination, and two special people who I know wrote very nice letters, Matt Glassman and Heather O'Hara, thank you. When I read through the list of past honorees and I see the names of the many talented people on it whom I've had the privilege of working with at both WJLA and WRC, I'm even more humbled to join such an amazing roster of my media heroes. And to be inducted in the same year as the fabulous Doreen Gensler, it just makes this honor even more incredible. I've had the really good fortune to have the support of great general managers like Jackie Bradford. Thank you, Jackie. She's here tonight, and Michael Jack and Linda Sullivan, who preceded her at WRC. And I want to mention John Thawhill, because I worked for him at WJLA, and a lot of people don't know that. And he brought me here from Providence. JLA was my first stop in Washington, and I thank everybody. I've had some really great partners in crime in the form of some really terrific news directors, including Mike Goldrick, who's sitting over there. And I have to mention the late, great Bob Long. Really, really great guy. It takes teamwork to make great television. I've been blessed to work with so many creative professionals, some of whom you saw in that video in my career. Without them, I wouldn't be standing here. It's not, believe me, it's not all me. I want to say thanks to all my friends and family who are here tonight. I'm not going to start naming a lot of names because I'm really sure to miss somebody, but I do want to give a special shout out to my brother Bill. He came here from St. Louis tonight, yesterday, just to be here tonight. I want to say hi to my mom, Irene, who hopefully has figured out how to watch this streaming in Rhode Island. And my dad, Bill Weston Sr., who is undoubtedly watching us on the celestial internet and beaming down at all of us from heaven. And this is going to come as no surprise to some of you, but I'd like to leave you with one of my favorite scripture passages. It's taken from 1 Thessalonians. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, and give thanks in all circumstances. Tonight, I'm rejoicing with overwhelming happiness that you've honored me this way. I will continue to pray for all of you, all of us, without ceasing, and I give you many, many, many thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Donna. Beautifully put, and congratulations to you. Right now, we would like to acknowledge the contributions to this event in every phase of the event, from the words that I'm reading to the camera that you see me on this evening. And the congratulation goes to the students from the Philip Merrill School of Journalism who've worked for months to help us put on this show. Could we give them a round of applause?
So tonight we're actually doing something a little special. We're combining the Silver and Gold Circle with our Student Production Awards, spanning the generations in our business to acknowledge the accomplishments of college students who just might be the Circle members of the future. It's something that tonight we're calling Pass the Mic. So we've lined up some Silver Circle alumni to help us announce these awards, like the Wiz of the Wizards, Steve Buckhantz from Comcast Sports.
Thank you. Please. Thank you. At guard, 6'4", from Kentucky, 200 pounds. I'm sorry. I had just 60 games in. All of the winners in these categories are students here at the University of Maryland in College Park, Philip Merrill College of Journalism. Each student gets a certificate. Each school is awarded a pillar. The Student Production Award winners, when I say your name, please come and join me. In Public Affairs Community Service, the winner is Viewfinder Fall 16 Strength and Shame Compilation. That's Susan Shin, photojournalist, Maya Green, photojournalist, and Ryan Escalis, photojournalist. Congratulations. In audio sound, the winners are the Southern Barnyard Runners. That's Hannah Burton, photojournalist, Mackenzie Happy, photojournalist. And I don't think either of them are here. Okay. In photographer, the winner is Viewfinder Fall 16, Faces of the Fair, Hannah Burton, Mackenzie Happy, Susan Shin, Maya Green, Karen Castillo, Alexandra Simon, Hannah Klarner, and Ryan Escalis. Congratulations. And accepting the pillars for Viewfinder, Josh Davidsburg, faculty from the University of Maryland. Josh? And I think my part's over. I'm done. Thank you. Thank you very much. Did I leave anybody out? I don't want to do that. We're good. We're good. Okay. We're working for you here tonight.
Thank you so much.
I'm working for a paycheck. I don't know about you.
You're working for love tonight. Thank you so much. Congratulations to the students. Thank you so much, Steve. And we do hope that some of these students end up in our local newsrooms with the training that they've gotten here, working for the Silver Circle and the Gold Circle. They're off to a great start. Well, our next awardee thought that he would be building roads for a living at one point, I understand, but instead he has been building rundowns. Our next recipient has been cruising nonstop for more than 35 years, but tonight, Maryland Public Television's John Davis is making a pit stop right here at the Silver Circle.
John Davis has compiled one of the most enviable resumes in all of broadcasting, having enjoyed parallel careers as senior executive producer for not one, but two of Maryland Public Television's landmark national series. While pursuing a degree in mechanical and aerospace engineering from NC State University, John gravitated toward broadcasting and landed a radio announcing job at WPAK Radio. After earning his MBA from the University of North Carolina, John landed on Wall Street, working as a transportation analyst. In 1973, John left the Big Apple behind and joined the Maryland Center for Public Broadcasting as producer of the fledgling Wall Street Week with Louis Rukeyser. This local show grew into a national powerhouse, and John would serve as its executive producer for more than 32 years. For most producers, launching the most popular financial news program in the U.S. would be enough. But John not so secretly harbored the desire for a TV program about America's love affair with the automobile.
So in 1978, when my boss, Warren Park, came in and said, okay, you've been producing somebody else's idea, how about trying something on your own? It was certainly in the back of my mind that I'd like to try to bring the automotive magazine to television. I'd been thinking about it for a long time, and the concept was shown around the stations, and it sat on the shelf for a couple of years and really didn't get off the dime until 1981 when we found out another station was going to do a car-oriented show, and we went on in October of '81 and been on ever since.
Motor Week has evolved into the authoritative voice for car information on TV, and John has become one of the most respected auto experts anywhere. As the EP and host of Motor Week, John Davis is seen by more than 35 million people each year on PBS, Velocity, American Forces Television, and in Spanish, Sí en Español, on BME. Yet, John has always maintained that the cars are the stars, and never tires of answering that frequently posed question, what car should I drive? After all, with millions of miles behind the wheel in thousands of new vehicles, if John can't answer that, then nobody can. John's career at Maryland Public Television has netted a lifetime of memories, but it has been the legions of loyal viewers all around the world who have benefited the most from John's efforts. And for that, John, we salute you tonight.
So come drive with us next.
Thank you, Adam. I'd like to thank the Board of Governors, the Academy, and the Selection Committee. But you know what? It's just not bad for a career that started out basically as an extracurricular activity in college. You remember those college radio stations? They were great places to study all night. You know, you had no windows, bright lights, soundproofing. But I didn't realize when I was in there at 2 o'clock in the morning that I was being, I hate to use the word infected, but that's probably the best word to use, infected by broadcasting. And it's a lifelong affliction that I'm glad that I caught. A lot flows from things that you just don't realize at the time. The 1 year in my whole career, I wasn't in television. When I was on Wall Street for a while, I missed it terribly. So when I had a chance to return, I jumped at it. And it's a simple story. I couldn't afford the New York Times. My friend that lived in my building did. So one Sunday morning, I'm looking through the paper and I see this ad. It says, Wall Street Week, looking for a producer with some business and television background. Apply. And I did. And I basically came down to Maryland, and that's where the story really begins. As we've seen here tonight, everybody owes a lot to everybody they work with and are with. I owe almost everything to two women that are here tonight. The first is my wife, Cheryl, who, like myself, is a TV kid and a TV lifer. She worked in programming. I met her the first week that I worked at Maryland Public Television. And I just remember tall, blonde, and gorgeous, and I'm hooked. And it took me a little while to go beyond that, but you know, I'm glad I made that decision. But that decision would have never happened without the other lady that I have a pleasure of sharing dinner with tonight. Ann Darlington was the creator of Wall Street Week. She's the one that put the ad in the New York Times, and she was the one that hired me. And thank you, Ann, because everything else flowed from that decision. And I must say, it has been a wonderful career and an unusual career working almost entirely for one broadcaster. Maryland Center for Public Television in those days, Maryland Public Television today, Maryland Public Broadcasting. We've changed the name several times over the years. But MPT basically stands for providing the viewers in Maryland programming that is special. Sometimes it's programming you can't get anywhere else, but it is programming that is produced with the heart of people who live right in our great state. And I'm very, very proud to have been able to be there for so long, and that they have supported me unendingly. We have Larry Younger, our president, here tonight, along with Stephen Shupak and Jay Parikh, the three gentlemen that I work most closely with on corporate matters and basically just trying to make sure that the show stays up to their standards. But I also want to highlight two gentlemen that I work very closely with on a daily basis and who have been the other two people that are my team, and I should say I hope I'm part of their team for over 20 years, Brian Roberts and Dave Scribner, my two EPs. Together, they've showed an unrelenting enthusiasm, creativity, and basically a willingness to bail me out so many times that I can't even really count anymore. A lot of people went in, stuck their neck out to put me up for this award this evening, this honor. Alec Webb, who you heard on the video, has been the only announcer that we've ever asked to do Wall Street Week and to do Motor Week as the booth announcer for the entire run of both shows. That's pretty special too, and the reason is because Alec has a voice like no others. And that's what we have at MPT. We have people that I just haven't seen anywhere else, and the type of talent that everyone needs recognition for, and they all deserve it. So instead of blathering on, let me just end with this. I'm often asked by other producers and also by students coming up in the business, how can you do the same thing every week? Because after all, I've had my name on two of the longest running weekly television series in television period. How can you do the same thing every week? And I look at them and I always say, because every week it's different, every week it's exciting. That's the business we're all in. And we're so lucky. And I hope basically I can keep doing it a while longer. Thank you very much.
Well said, sir. So listen, if you're a sports fan in Norfolk, and how could you not be with talent like this in that town? You've been watching our next recipient for more than 40 years. He's not a guy who's just out there giving you the scores. He gives you gifts from the heart, okay, raising millions for local charities. No one brings more to the Wavy Sports Desk than the Silver Circle's Bruce Rader.
comes to mind when you think of Bruce Rader? Well, first and foremost, I would say Hampton Roads icon.
Bruce Rader. The first thing that comes to mind when you say that is somebody who was instrumental in my career.
Covering all the things he's done, from the Olympics to the Super Bowls to everything else. I mean, it's a testament to everything that he's done.
The guy is larger than life.
I've never seen somebody as enthusiastic as Bruce Rader about telling stories.
Is it a football game or a party? A party or a football game?
When he comes into a room and he starts his broadcast, I feel all the oxygen just being sucked out of the studio.
Bruce who? Oh, yeah. Bruce Rader, first thing that comes to mind, welcoming.
If you meet Bruce Rader one time, you're a friend for life.
What more do you want from somebody serving the community in front of the camera to watch every day is a man who is committed to the TV station he works for and the community he works for.
His charitable work, he's selfless when it comes to that. He sacrifices so much of his personal time.
For 30 years, he was on the Jerry Lewis MDA telethon here in Hampton Roads, which raised thousands and thousands each year, and throughout the years, that number went high. He has done his Bruce Rader St. Jude's golf tournament for over 20 years in Virginia Beach.
From the moment Bruce commits to something, it's game on.
He doesn't just hold a golf tournament. He doesn't just go out to the JT walk and things like that, but he actually forms such a connection with that cause.
The biggest honor for me was to come in and just learn from him and learn from a Hall of Famer in the business about the right way to do things.
Some of the stuff he taught me, valuable lessons like to never ride a bull for a story, or to never play a woman in billiards.
In an age where local sports isn't really much thought of at other stations here, it is a huge, huge presence in our local newscast, and Bruce Rader is every bit a part of that.
He is the dean of local sports.
It's been my privilege to work with Bruce for so many years here at Wavy and Fox 43.
Congratulations, Bruce.
It's just been an honor to learn from one of the best in the business, a legend.
Never ride a bull for a story. I would like to thank the National Capital Academy for this extraordinary honor, and what a thrill for me, who grew up here, to be able to come home 40 years later to receive it. Also, what an honor to be able to share this experience with all of the young people that are here. And I think it's great that the Academy has taken it upon itself to bring all of these students in. I find it very important, and I'm going to mention that because of the fact that how just one or two specific meetings with someone in the business, when someone calls us up, can totally change our lives. Because I'm going to start tonight by sharing something with you that I have never shared with anyone in my life, including my mother, my wife, my boss, and my coworkers, and everyone else. This is the first time I've ever said this. And it is the reason that I am standing here tonight. I wanted to be Maury Povich. 1972. I had just graduated from Wheaton High School. I was writing high school sports for the Montgomery County Sentinel and the Washington Post, and I went to a wedding, and at the reception was Maury Povich. His dad was the sports editor of the Post. He had been a sportscaster on Channel 5, and he was hosting a show on Channel 5 called Panorama. Well, I talked to him, and he wanted to get rid of me, and he said, hey, kid, why don't you come down to the TV station sometime? I know that you're interested in TV, and I'll show you around. Of course, he was just saying that to get rid of me, but of course, I took him up on the offer. And I went down there, and I spent a day with Maury Povich at Channel 5, and I was hooked. Bright lights, excitement, beautiful people. I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be Maury Povich. Well, Maury told me that day, I was 21 years old, as you saw, even when I was on TV when I started down in Norfolk. I had long hair, and Maury said that there was no chance in hell that any television station in Hampton Roads in Washington, D.C. was going to give me a job on TV. So he said, why don't you do what I did? He said, I started out on radio. He says, on radio, nobody can tell how old you are, and nobody can tell if you have long hair or not. So I got in the car that moment on Wisconsin Avenue. I drove down Wisconsin Avenue. I went to Rockville Pike, and I went to WINX Radio, AM. That was the radio station I listened to back in the 70s, and I got a meeting with Pierre Eaton, the general manager of the radio station. And I told him that I wanted to do a radio sports show, that I was covering sports for the Sentinel and the Washington Post, and a lot of people liked high school sports, and it was a top 40 station. So Mr. Eaton said, you know what, kid? You want to be on the radio? That's fine. But you got to go out and sell it. And so I went out and sold it. I got Pepsi Cola to sponsor my show for $50 a show. So I did a high school football show on WINX Radio, and I did another show called Terrapin Talk about University of Maryland sports. Well, with that on my resume, and with the help of the great Andy Ockershausen, I landed an internship at WJLA, well, at the time, WMAL, Channel 7, along with Wes Sargentson and Fred Thomas and Paul Berry and Ed Turney, and I needed to put together a resume tape. And I got somebody that would help a kid out, put my resume tape together. He doesn't remember that. He was the director of AM Washington, Ernie Bauer, produced my resume tape. Paul and Holly Fine shot my intern project. They went on to win 9 national Emmys and a Peabody while working for 60 Minutes. And again, these were people just helping a kid out. Well, a few months later, I was offered a job in Norfolk, Virginia, $125 a week. Monday through Friday, I covered the news, and on the weekends, I covered sports. And it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the hours. It was about looking into that camera every night and knowing that people were sitting in their living room, and they trusted you to give them their information. Well, I convinced my best friend from 2nd grade, Mike Springerth, to come down and join me in the wonderful world of TV. And he did then what he did when we were kids, and he said, you are absolutely crazy. I just graduated from Maryland, and I'm painting houses. Why in the world would I want to move to Norfolk and get into television? But, you know, he was my best friend, and he said, what the heck, you need the help. So he came down, and we were 20-something-year-olds, and we produced the best sports cast that they ever had in the state of Virginia. I was doing the sports Monday through Friday. Mike was doing the sports on the weekend until he left me to come home and work for Frank Herzog at WJLA, where he went on to win 3 Emmys. So every year, for 40 years, I have invited college students to come into my station and work that same internship, Mr. Andy, that I worked through back in 1974. And many of them did what I did. They left home, they went to smaller markets, they worked long hours for no money, and some have gone on to become great sports anchors. Two of them right now are anchoring primetime shows on ESPN Sports Center. Jeff Myers, who's with me tonight, who was my intern when he was at Old Dominion University, has won, I guess, 4 Emmys on his own now. And we traveled together, covered the world, Olympics, Super Bowls, and now he runs our news department. So tonight, you students that are here with us tonight are getting a first-hand look at one of the greatest professions in the world. And it doesn't come easy. And you have to have passion. And you have to want it. And you have to sacrifice family time. And every one of us that are here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And that's the thing that'll bring that tear to your eye, all of those hours that you weren't with your family and all those times you've been on the road. And I thank my wife, Virginia, and my 2 sons, Reed and Alex, for here tonight. Thank you guys for putting up with what we all put up with in this crazy business. And my boss, Doug Davis, and his wife, Missy, and Doug is now the vice president of Next Star Television, and he travels all the time, but they came here to be with me tonight, and he proves every day how much loyalty is important and the loyalty of his employees, and he returns it with his loyalty. So thank you and all the other general managers and news directors who have taken your Saturday nights to be here to be with us on this night. It's not about the ratings, although I will say we do get great ratings, but it's about giving back to people and giving back to young people, and that's something that a lot of us have done. And for the rest of us, I hope that you do that if all of you get into the business. So after 20,000 sportscasts, this is one of the greatest honors that I will ever receive. I will never be Maury Povich, but as he did back in 1991, I am now a member of the Silver Circle. So thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Bruce, and congratulations to you on a wonderful, wonderful career. Now we go on to a very special lady. She's the face that has launched at least 1,000 newscasts. A late-night newscast favorite on WRC, Doreen Gensler, is... Doreen is fresh, not in, a bad way, fresh and smart as ever. And all of this, in spite of what, she's had to do all those years, which is work next to this guy.
Jim Vance. Scoot, dude, over here, thank you. Like I said, I'm Jim Vance. And for more than 25 years, I consider myself the luckiest man in the continental US of A. You want to know why? Because for more than 25 years, I have had the opportunity and indeed the privilege of sitting next to and working with the most professional, the most dynamic, the most delightful, the most gorgeous woman on the face of the earth, if you will. It's a long story. It's a heck of a story. But let's start at the beginning.
It was 1989, and into the frat house, George, Bob, Arch, and Vance, in walks a woman. And what a woman. Smart, classy, composed, gorgeous, and completely unintimidated. The addition of Doreen to the News 4 team at 6 and 11 changed everything. Truth is, when the homegirl came back home, that's when we started winning. Doreen arrived in 1989 as no stranger to Washington. She spent her early years in Arlington, then moved south, and after college, honed her skills in foreign markets like Chattanooga, Charlotte, Cleveland, and Philly. But it was back home, here in D.C., where her star shined brightest. And viewers in D.C. have basked in that glow for a quarter century now. Much has changed in our town in 25 years. Administrations, institutions, demographics, the urban landscape, and through it all, Doreen has been something of a touchstone, a calm, reassuring presence, somehow making sense of it all. It is a labor of love.
And we love her too.
Well, here we are in Studio A of NBC, and I'm Arch Campbell with my dear friend Bob Ryan, and we remember Doreen Gensler.
Boy, we do.
It's been such a delight, such a joy working with you all these years. You're not only a consummate professional, you are a class act.
Such a great honor for you to achieve this award, and I've never told you this to your face, but you know I used to watch you as a kid on television.
I have always been awed by your confidence, your how smooth you are on the air, how solid you are, your great gutsy laugh, and of course your perfectly coiffed hair.
The highlight of my day comes at 11 o'clock at night, getting to sit next to the ultimate class act in this business. Every day you bring your solid judgment and your warmth. You make it look so easy.
You certainly deserve it, and you have been a wonderful co-worker. It's been so wonderful knowing you.
It has been so much fun with you for almost 30 years.
You haven't aged a day since I met you 24 years ago. Here's to another 25.
What an honor to congratulate you on your induction into the Silver Circle.
Proud of you, and I've always loved your work going way back when.
Congratulations, Doreen.
Well
you are
deserved.
the greatest, and you're in the golden circle as far as Bob and I are concerned.
And she should get a gold star for sitting next to Vance for all those years, too, and putting up with him.
Right.
Thank you, Doreen, for putting up with me for more than a quarter of a century. And welcome to the Silver Circle.
No notes. I forgot everything I wanted to say while I was watching that. I do want to say how pleased and honored I am that Maureen is here hosting tonight. I have looked up to you for a very long time. You've been a huge leader in this city, and I know everyone here joins me in being excited to see what you're going to do next. So thank you for being here. Wow, what a wonderful honor, and how delighted I am to join the Silver Circle. I'm sort of hoping there's some kind of mistake, though, because it's hard for me to imagine that I'm old enough to join the Silver Circle. And I'm waiting for somebody, to come up behind me and, like at the Oscars, and make the correction and say, "You're not quite ready for this yet. You still have a little more time." I still feel like I'm learning something every day, and still love what I do. It's an adventure every day, and I'm very pleased to be honored and by my peers like this to join the Silver Circle, and I'm very choked up by the video that I just saw. I worked at 4 television stations before I came home to Washington, and I very much feel that I am working now at the best local TV station, the best local TV news operation in the country. I get to work with a great team of people, and you know, I'd like to pretend that I'm not old enough for the Silver Circle, but I came here in 1989, and I was working at a second place CBS O&O station in Philadelphia, and I had been bumped back to weekends, and I wasn't too happy about it. And imagine how I felt about getting an opportunity to come and work at WRC, an NBC-owned station in my hometown. And on top of that, part of the deal was I was going to get to join the already solid and strong and well-established anchor team of Jim Vance and George Michael. We miss him every day still. Bob Ryan, Arch Campbell was in there too. Imagine what that was like for me, and then imagine that this crew welcomed me into their group. I don't think I really even appreciated then as much as I do now what a blessing that was, and what an amazing opportunity that was for me. The first person I want to thank is my longtime partner, Jim Vance. I can't believe all I appreciate all the nice things you said in that video. I am the lucky one. I have learned so much from sitting next to you. We are so different in so many ways, but we are always on the same wavelength on the things that really matter, about our responsibility to our viewers, about getting it right, about being accurate and fair, and about the impact that our work has on people's lives, and wanting to make sure that we get it right. And you have always had my back from day one, not just in front of the camera, not just on that news set, but off the air too. And I think you know I've got your back. I can't imagine a better work partner ever. And you are a big reason why I love my job every day. So thank you for that. Everybody who's been up here tonight has talked about the teamwork, and I want to impress that on all the students who are here. Television is totally a team sport. None of us gets anything done in television without a whole lot of other people doing their jobs, and I've been blessed to work with a whole lot of people who do their jobs well 24/7 every day, and of that I am so grateful. I have terrific coworkers, and I want to say thank you to all of them who are here tonight and who made the trip. I also want to congratulate all of the other awardees tonight, particularly my colleague Donna Weston. My kids are here tonight, and they asked me, what's this award about? What did you, why are you winning this? I said, well, it's about getting old, pretty much, right? It's about getting older. But more important than that, I think it's about surviving in a business that is crazy and unpredictable, and has gotten even more so in the last decade or so, as everybody in this room knows. It's about surviving, and so my hat is off to all of the Silver and Gold Circle nominees tonight, because we are survivors. Want to say thank you to, I have two of the best bosses ever in the world, and they are both here tonight, Jackie Bradford, Mike Goldrick. You guys, You guys are an awesome team, and you've built a very strong operation, and I'm really proud to be a part of it. I'm so happy that Jim Hanley's here. We're having a lot of fun working together at 11. You rock. Here's to many more years. And Un, very glad you're here. Your time is coming soon. You've got a few more years before you're up here in the Silver Circle. Also want to very much thank my family. I married a newspaper reporter when I was working in Cleveland, and he has been my biggest supporter all through 30 years, 31 years we've been married now. And he was at the Washington Post for many years and has changed careers. Is at the Justice Department now. But he's put up with a lot of crazy stuff. He had always lived in Cleveland his entire life until he met me, and together we went to Philadelphia and then to D.C. So Bill, thank you for sticking with me. And my kids are here, and the talk about missing family time resonates with them. I have missed a few things. My son Chris and my daughter Carson are both here, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you for all of your support over the years. And I was mindful of the students who would be with us, as some of the other awardees have been, and I tried to think of what I would like to share with young people who are just getting started in the business, and I think what I want to share with you all is don't. You're gonna encounter some people along the way who will tell you can't do something. You know, you don't have the right look, or you don't have the right talent to be a reporter or a photographer or a producer or an editor. And my first job out of college, I was working the same station as Steve Buckhantz in Chattanooga. He was the sports director, and I went there as a reporter, had to shoot our own video, set it up on the stand-up and run around in front of it, edit our own stuff. A very valuable experience, but you don't want to do that forever. The equipment was a whole lot heavier back in those days than what you guys are working with. Anyway, there was a Sunday when I was the entire news department. I was the assignment editor, I was the reporter, the photographer, the whole thing. So I'm in the newsroom. I learned that there's a famous guy from Chattanooga has died. They've been searching for him. There was a flood. They've been looking for the guy. They find him on my watch. So I call the boss at home. What do you want me to do? He says, well, you got to break into programming. So I'm, 6 months out of college or something. I got a what? So, yeah, go find the guy in master control and, do a cut-in. And he hung up. So I had to figure out how to do that. And I did it. And that was on a Sunday. Monday, the boss finds me and he says, I never want to see you on that anchor desk again. That was terrible. Never again. Don't even think about it. This is not part of your future. So that wasn't what I was hoping to do at that point in my career. I wanted to be a reporter. That's the part of the work that interested me. But I think his telling me that, I think that became a motivation. I had something to prove at that point. And so when I was applying for other jobs to get out of that place, somebody he wasn't a great news director, Buck. You probably remember him. Nothing much ever became of that guy. So anyway, So when I was looking to get out of there and I was looking for reporting jobs, and a news director in Charlotte offered me, well, you can come here and be a reporter, but I really need a weekend anchor. Our weekend anchor's gone. So I took that opportunity and ran with it. And so that's my advice to students who want to be in the Silver Circle someday. Somebody tells you something like that, let it be your motivation to prove them wrong. So anyway, thank you all. Good night.
So it's time to pass the mic again for our student awards. WTTG's ever popular forecaster, Sue Palka, weathered this assignment. At least we think you'll weather this assignment, announcing student production winners in light news.
Yes, it's working. Is everyone having a good time tonight? I love the gold and silver circle because I love seeing the deck videotapes. Had the pleasure to work with the great Ernie Bauer myself. He calmed my nerves on many nights when I was starting at 5 in November of 1985. Love everything that has been said tonight, and congratulate all of theirs. So keep up the great work. We are survivors. I want to continue to see all of you on the air. But we are also celebrating this great connection with the Philip Merrill School of Journalism, the wonderful work students have done here tonight. I was part of a panel earlier, and fortunately most of the kids are going to continue on their majors after we finish talking. Because, you know, we need you. We need you to fill in gaps as we leave the business and continue to come in and tell the truth, and do not listen to these guys of fake news, because you're going to deliver the truth. And I just wish we had recorded it earlier to hear Jance and Pat Collins going at it. It was fantastic. It was a great pleasure. But we have some student winners that we would like to announce today. We want to encourage you in these careers. All of the winners in news are students at University of Maryland College Park. By the way, I have not been here in a while. This kiss is looking fantastic. Wow. Yeah. I'm done paying tuition for college, so follow me now. But the school looks great, and I'll encourage everybody to take a look at the University of Maryland, especially if they come into journalism. I want the winners to please join me when I read your name. And our first winner is La La Land. Oh. I'm so sorry. First winner in light news is Bikes and Burdens, Second Chance, with Angela Barra, reporter, and Sarah Dad, photographer. Can they join me? There they are. Congratulations. Congratulations. We've got your awards right here. Very nice. For the resume, our next winner in light news is Survivor Quilt, Michelle Chavez, reporter, photographer. Michelle? Yay, Michelle. Congratulations. An award for you, right, too? And our next winner in light news is DC Fitz, and Ann Ackerman is our MJ who won, but I've got to tell you that Anna is studying abroad, so she's not here to accept her award, but I would love to see a clip of the three. DC Fitz. We'll run that during sleeps. What are you talking about? Our next award goes to Miffins, so by Anna, who's
And we're very honored to be able to give an award to an exceptional political journalist tonight. He covers Maryland, the Maryland State House to be exact. I can assure you he has never delivered any fake news, only the facts, no alternative facts. So believe me when I tell you, the election of Fox 45's John Rydell to the Silver Circle was not rigged.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. One other dilemma: whether or not to accept it. It's a game that most Oriole fans would just.
It'll be 2 years before the Ravens move to their
House is expected to give final approval. Then resisted arrest in Harford County.
25% of the operating expenses. Well, the calendar says the first day,
including 2 women.
25 years does go very fast. In fact, I think John and I look exactly the same as when we started.
It is difficult to do as good a job as John does
on a daily basis, let alone 25 plus years.
I hope that I can last that long.
We as journalists are better for having people like John Rydell who continue to practice their craft for so long.
John Rydell is a pro.
The typical reporter that likes to dig deeper, but John takes it an extra level.
A true journalist, meaning he actually looks at both sides of the story and tries to get both sides of the story, and he reports it that way.
He can tell you what happened, when, and why. John's really good with perspective.
Even more importantly, he's a nice guy. Always asks about your kids, your pets.
He has a sense of humor.
Supreme Court decision says that, that was going to be the one.
Budget, and those no, that's looks like it's been there for 30 years, but it works.
Bill, if the first time I saw John write a live script by hand, he wrote it on a full-size legal pad in Sharpie, all in capital letters, and I thought, this is the scrawling of a crazy man.
I know the ins and outs of John Rydell's lunches.
Every day, John Rydell goes to Potato Valley.
John Rydell is an iced tea aficionado.
Unsweetened iced tea.
Potato chips are normally wrapped up.
John Rydell is Annapolis.
Is Mr. Annapolis?
Mayor of Annapolis.
The man knows Annapolis.
He knows everybody down there. He knows what's going on. He knows who to talk to. Everybody knows him.
Go to Annapolis and go to 4 different buildings and not have to go outside once because he knows the underground so well.
I would get lost myself, which is really pathetic to admit because I've been there for so long.
People know John in Annapolis and they respect John, from the governor on down.
Even other reporters in this market kind of look at John to follow his lead.
I'm like invading John's space when I even get on Ritchie Highway. Or when I get on 97, I'm like, this is John's territory.
When I think about how people will criticize the media, I feel like if more reporters were like John Rydell, there would be less criticism out there.
He's a good guy, a great coworker, colleague, and most importantly, a great friend.
John, congratulations.
John, congratulations.
Congratulations, John.
Congratulations.
Congratulations on this prestigious honor.
Congratulations on the Silver Circle.
Put the typewriter away. We're doing digital now, John. Congratulations.
John, congratulations.
If my dad were around, he would be awfully proud of you.
Well, thank you very much. That's so humbling when you see all your colleagues speaking so well of you. I'm kind of flattered. But anyhow, good evening. And I learned something a few years ago at the Emmys when I won an Emmy with Dave Larson, very talented photojournalist. He said, before you say anything, you have to thank your spouse. I'm going to do that before I forget. I want to say thank you very much to my wife, Sharon, for all her love and support throughout the many, many years. And John Davis talking about Maryland Public Television. When I was there years ago before I was married, working on documentaries late at night, my wife Sharon made dinner and delivered it to the station. So I still remember. So it's incredible. Thank you so much to the selection committee for being a part of this very esteemed group here. I also want to say hello to Mike Tomko, the news director at WBFF TV, for putting up with me. And also Mike McCormick is here. He's the Sinclair Regional News Director. Bill Fanshaw is also here, longtime GM at WBFF and group manager as well. And also want to say hello to Scott Livingston, Vice President of News at Sinclair. He's got a lot of titles through the years. He was the former news director at WBFF, and back in 1991, April of 1991, Scott and I started the same day at Fox 45. It was a startup operation. They never had a 10 o'clock news like Fox 5 in D.C. A lot of people weren't sure if it was going to survive. Somebody asked me if Fox 45 was a radio station, and we weren't really sure if it was going to survive. The ratings weren't all that good, but Scott at the time was the chief photographer. We covered many, many stories from hurricanes to homicides, you name it. And Scott has moved on, went into the management track, and is really responsible for the growth of so many stations. I have no idea how many stations Sinclair has. It's too many to mention. But anyhow, John Davis mentioned something about the number of years that you do this and you lose track of time, and people say, well, how could you work at one station and do the same thing day after day or week after week? And I think it's just because every day is different, and you might be at the White House one day or having rocks thrown at you by teenagers or whatever, but through it all you just try to stay focused, do your job, and whether the weather's lousy or whatever, and get through it. Make sure you can hear the director, and that's all you're looking for. So again, thank you so much. I'm very humbled by this being in this group, and also thanks to the University of Maryland for hosting this. It's a great venue. I'm a longtime Terrapin fan. Spent many days at Byrd Stadium watching the Terrapins a long time ago. I don't know what they're doing with Cole Fieldhouse. That's quite shocking, but saw many games there. Anyhow, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Go Terps.
It's quite an honor for me to be able to present this to our next award recipient. I can certainly tell you from personal experience that around this campus, our next recipient is not just a teacher. She's a mentor and very often a mom. She had her own on-air career as a reporter at WJZ and at Maryland Public Television, but for the last 8 years, she's been overseeing the budding journalists here at the University of Maryland in the Capitol News Service. We're going to show you now what some of her students and former students had to say about Sue Kopen-Katseff, our newest Silver Circle member, and their newsroom mama.
Hi, I'm Michael Stern. I'm one of the hundreds of students Sue Kopen-Katseff has taught during her 27 years teaching journalism at the University of Maryland. 27 years? Well, that's a long time, long before I was born. But even before that, she was a reporter at WJZ, MPT, and WBAL Radio.
Sue Kopen, March 23rd, 1979. There's more bad news for your pocketbook today.
She started at WJZ in 1979, and let's just say it was a different time then.
God, I can only imagine what the newsroom was like 30 years ago.
Were there computers? But I can't imagine if I didn't have a cell phone, like how I would get in contact with her, like, oh, let me go find a payphone or something. I don't know.
I'm sure they didn't have studio lights, so they just had to light a bunch of candles. Like, Facebook wasn't even a thing back then.
They used to not edit, like, on a computer. They used to, like, I don't even know. I don't know if that was 30. I think that was within 30 years, definitely. So, like, just developing your film and, like, I don't know.
Sue went on from WJZ to WBAL Radio and Maryland Public Television. And then in 1989, she caught the teaching bug.
Sue is so supportive.
I feel like I have so much to learn from her, and I feel like she's such a good role model because of the things that she's done.
She really cares about her students, not only on an academic level, but also on a personal level.
I felt so much care and so much passion just walking to the newsroom every day, and I could tell she really cared about me as an individual.
She started as an adjunct, and then in 1999, she moved into a full-time position. 10 years later, Sue was appointed the head of the Broadcast Bureau of the Capitol News Service.
Sue is sort of everybody's favorite cheerleader, godmother, yenta, confessor, just all around enthusiastic student supporter. She's like, if this were a Cub Scout troop, she'd be the den mother.
I see our students on TV all over the DC area all the time, and most of them, or many of them, went through Sue at some point.
Sue is responsible for training young journalists from around the country.
There's nothing that I can say that will explain the lives that Sue has touched while at the University of Maryland, whether it be her candy jar, her adorable dog Mazda, or just her immense joy The impact that she has had is immeasurable. Sue, I remember when I started at the University of Maryland, you were my school mom. You always asked me how much sleep I got the night before, if I had done my homework, the normal things that a mom would do, and I would always tell you the truthful answers until the truth got to be too bad. Over the past 4 years, we formed a connection. I know I can come to you with any problem, personal or professional, and you'll always help me out. It might even just be a look that you give me, and I'll know what I have to do. And that connection, I know, will last a lifetime. And I know that that's the connection that you have formed with many of your past students, but don't just take my word for it. Let's hear what some of the working professionals that you have taught over the years have to say.
Sue was always one of my favorite teachers, but since I've graduated, she's just become a fantastic mentor and friend.
You helped me to find a new direction. You helped me to find a renewed sense of confidence in myself.
I would not be standing here had it not been for you.
Sue, as I stand here ready to record another package after anchoring and recording another segment for a different newscast, all I can think of when I think back at Maryland and of you, I think thank you.
You give the personal attention to all the students that you have. I think we all appreciate that more than you'll ever know.
I remember one day in class you played a tape of you questioning a police PIO. He was telling you the facts and you finally said to him, "This doesn't add up." And it just stuck with me because it taught me to be tough, but also fair.
You have been an amazing teacher and mentor to so many people over the years, including Melissa and myself.
I cannot emphasize enough how much Sue has had an impact on my life.
There is no way to understate the impact that Sue has had on my career.
We're proud to have learned from you, and we continue to learn from you.
She really helped me and pushed me so much. She's always been there for me, not just at my career at Maryland, but also throughout my career in the professional field.
I thank you so much for helping me to get to this spot.
Thank you for all you've done for me and for so many other people.
Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for everything you've given me, Sue.
But also, thank you for turning students into journalists.
So congratulations, Sue. There is truly no one more deserving of a place in the Silver Circle.
Congratulations, Sue, and thank you for all you do. We love you.
Thank you. All I can say is wow. It's been a long day for me. We had a program across the way there. I've been up since 5. So if I start to sort of fade, if you could kind of just like snap your fingers or something, hopefully I'll come back. The talk about being a team is so true. But first I do want to begin with thanks to NATAS and the Board of Governors, to my husband Bill Katseff, my son Philip, who's in the back, and I owe a debt of gratitude to someone who I've known since he was a little guy. He's heard this story before. He was a student of mine. He is now a colleague of mine, and I know that Josh Davidsburg is the reason that the nomination is here, and he worked on this, so I owe a lot to Josh. His mom, Doreen, is also here, and his wife, Alicia. So thank you. Also, the Merrill College of Journalism, which has been, it's my alma mater. It is my love, my passion. Dean Lucy Douglas, you should all have someone who has your back the way she has for her faculty and her staff. Associate Dean Raphael Lorente, who has given us the toys in our newsroom that we had been lacking for years. Lucy and Raphael are a phenomenal team so that our students can leave and have the skills and the tools and the knowledge that are required to get the jobs and to push us forward and to do the job that's required to keep the public informed. My teammates, we cannot do this alone. I have a few of them here that I want to acknowledge. Cindy Wright, who is both a phenomenal instructor, our executive producer. Some of you may know her in her prior life. over at WJLA and in Baltimore at WMAR, and of course she was with Sinclair for a number of years as well. The esteemed Tom Batag, who I've had the pleasure of getting to know and learn from, who came to us, he's retired, and the next thing you know, he's like working a full-time job. And the students have had an incredible benefit from having someone of his stature and who's just such a nice person. And that's important, that they learn that this is a business. But we've heard it from a number of the folks who are up here. You've got to be a people person and care. And certainly that is demonstrated on a daily basis. And I have to mention Dave Ottolini, who's got the camera. He's from our communications, he is our communications guy at the Merrill College. And he has the job of trying to make us all look good. So he has been a tremendous supporter, and just wanted to say thank you. And of course, my students. I have an amazing collection after 10 years as an adjunct, and now I'm into my 18th year, which is hard to believe. It's the longest job I've ever held. So that must say something about it. I have Michael Stern. Now I know why Michael kept saying, you gotta mention my name first. So to Michael, that was an incredibly meaningful presentation. I have a number of alums who are here who made a special trip in, and they're working in markets all around the country, and a number of folks here as well. My students are our students. They're our family, and we try to make it that way. Melissa is sitting down there too, that's Adam's wife. We want them to have an empathy and a sympathy and an understanding of the important job that they have in the role of society. But again, first and foremost, they have to be students. Of course, I'm the only one who carries a pen and pad up here because I didn't have 5 minutes to put anything together. It has been a wonderful career for me. Radio and TV. I grew up on Maryland's Eastern Shore in a very small town of Denton. So for a small kid from a small town, it's really quite overwhelming to be here. But I must tell you, my beginnings go back to a journalism instructor that I had in the 7th grade, who I stayed with her, she stayed with me as my faculty advisor through the senior year of high school. She laid the foundation of good journalism. Get the facts, get it right, and make certain that you represent yourself well and do good for others. It's an important foundation. Something else I learned from another colleague of mine, some of you may remember him from when he was here, Mark Lodato, who was at Channel 9, who is now at the Cronkite School at Arizona State University. Mark said that with working with students, it made him a better professional because you want to do better to raise the standards and do better and make them better. And I now understand exactly what Mark was saying because that is just oh so true. We want to be able to provide a grounding. You are the guide, you encourage, you lead, and hopefully you do a little inspiring along the way with the bottom line of getting the facts right. You don't want to take yourself too seriously. And this goes back to actually to when I was at MPT working on State Circle. And I was with John. It was a pretty cool time. We had some interesting characters at the State House. William Donald Schaefer among them. And someone who had been doing an article about good reporters at the State House or talking about various reporters said, I want to tell you something that I asked Schaefer who he thought some of the good reporters were, and he listed some, and he said, he came to your name. Yeah, it's Sue Kopen. She's okay. But she works for MPT and nobody watches them. It's like, okay, well, thanks very much. But, you know, your work gets noticed, and whether or not you're seen or not, you make a difference, and you have a responsibility to get it right. MPT was a great organization, and we worked hard, and it was tremendous work. State Circle, I still watch every week. The bottom line is we are being challenged now. Les talked about it earlier. I'm not going to go over that, but the lessons we teach are critical. Do your job, do it well, set the bar high. Hopefully, in doing so, we will make a difference along the way. Thank you.
Congratulations, Sue. I know some of your former students, and they have done very, very well in our business. And great thanks to you and to your wonderful work with them. We're not finished with the student life yet. Tonight, students, you're in the spotlight. And there's good reason for that because of your work. And to help bring some more attention to you, please welcome the estimable Jim Vance from Channel 4, WRC.
Thank you, Maureen, my idol, my love for all these years. It is an honor to pay tribute to some of these young folks who will be working alongside us, let's hope, very soon. The winners in this category are students at the University of Maryland, College Park, Philip Merrill School of Journalism. Each student gets a certificate that the school receives, a pillar in the category long-form nonfiction. And the winner is the Rival News Episode 2, Dots, Michael Bregenzer, executive producer, and Elaine Lee, director. Come on up. Congratulations. Photo op. We good? Okay, now get out of here. You're done. For Rival News, Adam Goldberg, writer and host, Ed Fred, camera operator, Andy Huang, editor, Modibo Abo, camera operator, Elias Arthur Kibbe, the gaffer, a real live gaffer, and Nick Arnold, audio. Congratulations. All right. Okay, you can go now. Too late. Got to be on time, man. For Rival News 3, John Tersey, camera operator, Seth Kaplow, lighting, and Michaela Balladou, am I right? Camera operator. Where are they? Oh, he's my man. Come on. Let's take a picture. Got it? Okay, you're done. Bye. All right. Now, accepting the pillar for Rival News, and he better be here, Josh Davidsburg, the faculty at the University of Maryland. Drop the mic. You the man. You don't get to talk, man. You just get to, okay. You know that? All right. Are we done? Now, in general assignment, serious news. This stuff matters. The winner is Baltimore Deconstruction, Alex Pacinda, reporter, Simone Thomas, photographer. Come on up, y'all.
Okay.
Y'all can stay. Actually, you're gone. Get out of here. Thank you. Serious news. A second winner. Children Ways. Sarah Dignan, reporter. Craig Weisenfield, photographer. Craig is not here, but Sarah is. Congratulations, Sarah. We got a photo up. Look right there. Yeah? All right. Thank you, sir. Now, all the winners in these categories are students at the University of Maryland, College Park, Philip Merrill College of Journalism. They are all recognized for achievements for the Capital News Service. Anybody old enough in here to remember back in the day when we didn't have teleprompter and this is what we used? Well, I know you are, Ernie. Now, for Best Newscast. You know who you are, don't you? The winner is Capital News Service, Maryland Newsline, Angelo Bavaro, anchor, Simone Thomas, anchor, and Faye Ammon, producer. Faye is not here, but the anchors are. Come on up. You be the rose between the thorns. You got it? We good? We're good. Okay. Thank you. Congratulations. All right. Talk among yourselves a minute. Okay. Best newscast. Emily Olson, sports anchor. She couldn't be with us, but Becca King, the director, is. Come on down, Becca. All right. One more time. Congratulations. And now, accepting the pillars for Capital News Service, would you welcome Sue Kopen-Katseff, the Bureau Director for all 3 categories. Congratulations to you. Thank you. Who gets the mic or do I drop it again? That's it.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay.
Listen, since it's been acceptable tonight to say, you know, I watched you on TV so long ago, I'm going to tell all you a story tonight about Jim Vance. So, Jim, there's no way you'll remember this, but 20 years ago, 1997, I met Jim Vance for the one and only time. I was so nervous, I don't even remember if I shook your hand or not. I was here as a student at College Park, but I was waiting tables out at a restaurant out on River and Falls in Potomac. It was called Flaps. Yep. So listen, so I'm there waiting tables one day, and in the door walks 4 or 5 guys, head to toe in leather, motorcycle helmets. I'm standing next to the owner who goes, "We got trouble." The helmet comes off. There's Jim Vance. I'm a journalism student here. This is a guy I watch every day. This is a guy I try to model myself after. This is a guy who I've looked up to ever since I knew I wanted to be on TV. And I think I probably mumbled out some words about how nice it was to meet you, and I look up to you, and I just wanted you to know how much of an effect and how much of an impact you've had on me, other college students, and the local TV news community in general. Thanks, Jim. All right, to our next honoree now. You know, sometimes it's the fate of a journalist to be in the right place at the wrong time. Our Gold Circle recipient, Sid Davis, okay, on a grinding 2-day, 5-city road trip in 1963, and he couldn't have known how a dark day in Dallas would make him an eyewitness to history.
This is Sid Davis reporting from Dallas.
The crowds were very jovial, happy. They were enormous crowds. The day was beautiful.
This is Sid Davis, and I'm at the Dallas Trademark, where President Kennedy was to make a major address this afternoon. The word is now being passed throughout the House that President Kennedy has been shot. Almost a complete chaos has now taken place.
We did hear the 3 shots very clearly. We saw the limousine just take off and left the motorcade. Then I headed for the Parkland Memorial Hospital.
We are awaiting word from the hospital on the president's condition.
And while I was broadcasting what had happened and repeating constantly that the president was dead, a White House official grabbed me by the shoulder. He said, "You have to come with me." And I said, "I'm on the air." And he said, "I don't care what you're doing, and don't ask any questions. Come with me." And we went down through the emergency room area into an unmarked police car where they were waiting for us to come, and they rushed us out to Love Field to Air Force One.
We were informed by our correspondent, Sid Davis, who was in Dallas today with the president, that he is one of 3 reporters who have been chosen to ride on that plane back to Washington.
So I got to the airport just as the casket was being put aboard the plane. When the oath was given, I wrote in my notepad that it was 2:38 p.m. Central Standard Time. Kennedy would recite this poem on the campaign trail, and I decided unwisely that I would recite this poem as a closing to my broadcast. Woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have miles to go
before I sleep. And with that, this is Sid Davis reporting from the White House.
I just couldn't hold it anymore, and I cracked up, and I never finished the broadcast. For someone who came out of Ohio with a straw in his trousers and covered pimps and whores and whatever in Youngstown, Ohio, and to know that what happened, that was going to be such a momentous thing. I never thought that when I went into journalism or got my first job or even came to Washington that I'd be witness to something of the magnitude of an assassination. And then if you factor in the tragedy of it and what it brought to the country and how the country worked its way through it, it was something that we only had, only so many of those stories have ever happened. So I'm very much aware of the fact that I was there.
Well, Lou, where did you find my bar mitzvah picture? On behalf of my entire family, I want to thank the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, the Washington and Chesapeake chapters for the tribute you paid to me tonight. I'll try to keep as brief as I can. The last talk I gave, I received a note from a young lady who said, "Dear Mr. Davis, my doctor gave me 1 hour to live. I would like to spend that hour in one of your lectures, because 1 hour with you is like an eternity." Well, I'll try very hard that I don't put you through that tonight. I did write something, and I would like to read part of it to you and then proceed with some personal observations. If it were not for Jim Snyder, my best friend and boss, I probably would not be standing here tonight. As many of you know, Jim was a legend in Washington television news. Eventually, he became vice president of post-Newsweek stations. And as many of you know, Jim was Catherine Snyder's father and Lou Charlip's father-in-law. It was Jim Snyder who assigned me to cover President John Kennedy's trip to Dallas, a huge political story in advance of the 1964 presidential elections. Kennedy was supposed to have been in trouble in Texas, so they decided to go to Texas to shore up their forces. Jim decided he would be the anchor in Washington and I'd be on the road. Of course, he had no idea of the magnitude the story would bring. I'd be on the road and I would be watching what was happening, and we never believed there would be an assassination attempt. I think the coverage in those initial days in Dallas was very good, considering. Responsibility was very paramount at the time. The conspiracy garbage took place in the days that followed that assassination, and some of it continues until today even. With today's news the way it is, the internet, which is largely an unweeded garden, fake news, ideological news, I don't have high hopes that if something of that magnitude, a tragedy of that magnitude, if it were to occur today, that the press would get the high marks it did in 1963. Overall, the Dallas Press Corps behaved responsibly. There was a killing of Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin. But that was done at the police headquarters because there was a mob of journalists in there, and they were out of control, and the assassin who killed Lee Harvey Oswald got in without the police knowing he had a gun. There was one serious error in the coverage of the assassination during the first minutes, and that was a report that President Johnson, or Vice President Johnson at the time, had been shot, and that was quickly corrected. There were thousands in the crowds welcoming Jackie and the president into Dallas. They were warm, enthusiastic. There was no sign of problems coming to any of them as we approached downtown. It's interesting that out of all of the people who gathered in Dallas, probably 100,000 welcomers, that only one videotape, one piece of film, was good enough to become what we call now the Zapruder film, which is the best piece of film that was taken of the assassination. Most of the other stuff shot on 16 millimeter or 8 millimeter video did not work out. Now think of what would happen today. If you had 100,000 people, I would say that fully 60 or 70,000 of them probably would have cell phones, and so you'd have 10 or 20,000 pictures of the assassination without any difficulty. There were many heroes that day, and I'd like to get that in a minute, but I want to tell you precisely what happened in the minutes after President Kennedy was shot. I was on press bus number 1 and was able to hear the 3 shots clearly. Bob Pierpoint of CBS News was sitting next to me. He had been a correspondent in Korea, and he jumped out of his seat and said, "That's gunfire." We weren't sure whether it was the police motorcycles that were going alongside of us or whether it was gunfire. Bob said, "No, it's gunfire." So we all started to yell at the bus driver to get us to wherever they took the president. Of course, he didn't know. We could see the presidential limousine dart out of the motorcade. We were about 8 car lengths behind the president's limousine. I was able to get to the site of the speech the president was going to make because we didn't know where else we could go. And he wasn't there, so I flagged down a car outside. It was a wonderful gentleman in a white Cadillac who offered me a ride. He asked me if I was a reporter, and I said yes, and he took me to Parkland Hospital. It was chaos at the hospital. I was thrown out of the emergency room. I went up to the 2nd floor, and I called Jim Snyder in Washington. I had no contact with him from the bus. And he said the bulletin had already moved on the wire that the president was in the hospital, but we didn't know his condition. So I gave my company, Westinghouse Broadcasting Company, my first report, with Jim being the anchor man in Washington. And while I was talking to Jim, one of my friends, Hugh Sidey of Time magazine, was about 10 feet from me talking to a priest. And he waved me over, so I asked Jim to let me go. I'd be back in a minute or so. I went over, and just as I got to the scene where the priest was talking, I heard him say, "He's dead all right. I just gave the president the last rites." He also said that he told Mrs. Kennedy that he thought the president's soul had not yet left his body. Now, if you're Catholic, you can understand the meaning of that. I went back to the telephone, and for you young journalists in the room, this is a moment of truth. Do you go with the story? I'm sure a priest knows what a dead body looks like. I said to Jim, "Would you please take me off the air? I need to talk to you." He said, "Okay." He didn't question me, so he took me off the air, and privately on the phone I said, "Jim, there's a priest here who says the president's dead. What do you want to do?" Jim said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "It's the president, Jim. I think we ought to wait." And we did. Now, I have to tell you that those few minutes between the official announcement and the time that I said, "Let's wait," seemed like an eternity, but they weren't really. It was shortly after that the White House made the official announcement. Assistant Press Secretary Malcolm Kilduff could barely get the words out of his mouth. He opened his mouth at first and nothing came out. And then he said, "President John F. Kennedy died today at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. He died of a gunshot wound to the brain." At that point, all hell broke loose. I went back to the phone and filed my story, and as I was filing my story, a White House official grabbed me by the back of my neck and pulled me away from the microphone. He said, come with me, and I said, I'm not in the air. I'm not going anywhere. And he said, no, you come with me. Right now, I can't wait. He took me downstairs. I said goodbye to Jim on the phone. I said, I'll talk to you later. I went downstairs to the emergency room. I was put into an unmarked police car with Chuck Roberts of Newsweek magazine and Merriman Smith of United Press International. He was the dean of our White House correspondence. And we raced out to Love Field to catch Air Force One before it left for Washington. We got there in time, and President Johnson had been waiting for us. It was President Johnson who felt that the press ought to be present for the swearing in. There was some discussion between President Johnson and the president's brother, Bobby Kennedy, who was in Washington, over whether the oath ought to be given in Dallas or to wait until they got to Washington. The decision was made to take the oath in Dallas, which was the wisest decision, I thought, because if they'd have come to Washington, then every member of Congress would have wanted to attend the ceremony. You know, it'd been a terrible scene here. So the oath was delivered there. I clocked the oath at 28 seconds. We were the only 3 people on board the airplane who were the press. There was no one else there. The Kennedy staff, all these wonderful young people who had made the long march to the presidency with him and endured the campaign of 1960, were in tears, young women. The mascara was streaked across their faces as they sobbed as Lyndon Johnson took the oath. I clocked the oath at 28 seconds. At the end of the oath, I was told that with Chuck Roberts that there were only 2 seats left on the airplane to go back to Washington, that Merriman Smith, the wire service guy, would have 1 seat because he was wire service, and I would have to flip Chuck for the other seat. I said, no, I'm going to get off. I want to brief the rest of the press. You go ahead back to Washington. There was some selfishness on my part in that decision. If I went back to Washington on that plane, I would have been out of pocket for 2.5 hours, and Westinghouse Broadcasting would have had no one in Dallas, and I had the only story of the swearing in. The problem I had at this point was, if you're a pool reporter, you cannot use the story you have until you've shared it with everybody else on the trip. So I had to wait until we assembled all the other reporters before I could use the story myself, and that's the way it worked out. Just a couple of points here about President Johnson and Mrs. Kennedy. Mrs. Kennedy was then 34 years old. She had lost a child in August, so 3 months earlier. So she had been just coming out of the mourning period, or her grief, when this all happened. When she came into the compartment for the swearing in, I could see that this beautiful woman with this lovely 2-piece suit with the specks of her blood on scattered all over her. Her right stocking congealed with blood from the president's head wound. Her right wrist had blood on it from where she cradled his head in her lap. And the courage that she showed in that period is remarkable. And the fact that she decided, she was sitting at the casket in the rear of the aircraft with the president's body when Johnson sent word to her that he would like her to stand for the photograph for the swearing in. And she sent word back that she would like to do it, but she needed a few minutes to compose herself, and you could see why. But the courage it took for her to leave the casket, to come up forward in the airplane and be there for the oath-taking was remarkable. I think it was a wise, intelligent, and a decision that she knew she was making for a lot of reasons. Number one was the public opinion. If Jackie had not been in that photograph, it's unbelievable what the rumors would say about why she wasn't there. And so she took care that that didn't happen. Lyndon Johnson's behavior during that whole period, his compassion for her was another thing that stood out to me. When she had entered the compartment where the oath was delivered, he went over to her and took her by both hands and walked her across this 10-square-foot compartment of Air Force One and placed her on his left. He placed Mrs. Johnson on his right. and he told the judge to proceed with the oath, which, as I said, took 28 seconds. And his next words were, "Let's get airborne." I think that the strength of Lyndon Johnson, his take-charge attitude, was so miraculous that he had his wits about him. And in those few minutes after the swearing-in, before they lifted off with Air Force One, he was talking to members of Congress, planning his next meetings with the Congress when he got back to Washington. In other words, the LBJ administration began within minutes of the oath-taking in Dallas, which told you something about the leadership qualities of President Johnson. One comment here about the press. I think the press corps behaved just beautifully all the time. We had to wait for Air Force One to leave. As I watched Air Force One take off with the casket of the fallen president and the new president, I thought, what a terrific country we have, that the Constitution remains that strong and the Republic was still safe. From there, I went downtown to the press club to wait for the press plane to leave, which would have been about 10 o'clock that night. And Dallas had shut down all booze. There was no liquor being served at the press club. Bob Donovan, one of the great reporters that was along on the trip, called a waiter over, a black gentleman with a beautiful bass voice. And he said, "Can't you get us a bottle? I'll give you $50 if you can get us a bottle. We just need it desperately." And the waiter said, "No, the bars are closed." And Bob kind of insisted. And Bob said, "Well, can't you just break the law just once?" And the gentleman said in his great voice he had, "I think enough laws have been broken in Dallas today." And I came back to Washington about midnight, and then the body arrived at the White House at about 4 a.m., and that's when I delivered the report. And I did something that was unwise in broadcasting. There's an old rule that says, if you're not sure, don't do it, don't say it, don't play it. And I recalled the words of Robert Frost from this poem, "Walking by Woods on a Snowy Evening." Kennedy used to recite that during the campaign when he ran for president. And I decided to quote those lines standing there at the White House, and I broke down at the end of it. And I was amazed at how many letters I got from people around the country that were up at 4 a.m. who heard it. And that's pretty much the story of the assassination. I just want to say something to the young journalists here in the room. The press is going through a pretty hard time right now. But I want to assure you something. The First Amendment's going to endure no matter what people do. I want to thank you very much for your attention. And again, thank you very much for the tribute.
Thank you so much, Jim. What a wonderful recounting of one of the most traumatic moments in recent American history, and certainly one of the most dramatic moments in news history. Thank you so much. And thank you for bringing up the name of the wonderful Jim Snyder, to whom so many of us owe our careers and our training. Sometimes it is the fate of a journalist. Our Gold Circle member, Johnny Holliday. Is Johnny here tonight? Too bad. Johnny Holliday once said about our next Silver Circle inductee, "He probably knows more about local sports than anyone I've met." And Johnny, of course, as you know, knows local sports. Johnny said he has been called a Washington institution, like the Smithsonian, only living. He is a veteran of WHUR and channels 4, 5, and 8, and you will be impressed by the sports legends he knows, because Glenn Harris is a legend himself.
Hey, I'm in Prince George's County, and I tell you right now, you know what barbershops are. People think they know everything.
And we got this new segment now. It's called, I'm gonna let you know what it is. It's called Taking It to the Streets. We hope you enjoyed it. We're gonna have some more for you. Stay with us. Back to Sports Talk.
Wally. I remember you. You know how folks go back, man. Let's go back now.
Yeah.
I remember you from Southeast Boys Club.
Yeah.
Me sitting down, seeing this young man announcing the game at the Boys Club, Police Boys Club.
Right.
And then the Knights of Columbus wanted somebody to be the MC.
That's right.
And I said, it's a young kid in Southeast that I just heard. I said, and I think you guys ought to give him a chance. They said, how old is he? Hell, you a teenager.
Yeah.
They thought I was crazy, and they gave you the job.
Yeah,
and you did a hell of a job, boy, because I had a baseball bat right behind you.
Like everybody else has called us, thank you for everything you've done for me, for the city of Washington, for young journalists, for journalists of color. I mean, it's all of that you were able to help us do. You were a trailblazer and led the way for a lot of us who were just starting out, trying to figure out what to do, and you gave us a great example, man.
You set an example for a lot of kids who were not able to be in the profession that you stayed in so long. And you did it in your way, which is very important.
Tell everybody out there how you give me all the information for Sports Talk.
Oh, yeah. This is where Glenn get all his information when he go on the air. You know, he comes to the barbershop, and we sit down and we discuss what's going on for the day. And I prep him real good, and he delivers a message to y'all on TVA every night.
I admire your work and your work ethic. I admire how you've been able to just persevere, and you know so much about DC sports. It's just an amazing thing.
And at the time, I was the first black anything they had on the table over there. See, this is the kind of talk we get in the barbershop. Nobody really knows anything. They just talking about it. It's all, well, blank, blank. You know what I'm saying? You fill it in the blank.
I cherish every moment that we've spent together. Glenn, you know, we've had great talks.
Yeah.
Some deep, some heavy, sad, you know, rejuvenating. And I tell you, man, I miss you so much. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm so proud of you, big guy. I'm so proud of you.
Right.
You've always given us your best in your heart, and I'm sure Coach has said it, as so many others will and have. Hey, Glenn, I love you very much for the man that you are, for the professional that you are, for the friend that you are, and you know, hey, I thank God for knowing you, my brother.
That's what they do when you get old.
Yeah, right, that's right.
When you're young, you're a SOB. When you get old, boy, they praise the hell. You retired, you can get all kinds of rewards. I'm going to start giving you one tomorrow.
I hope you've enjoyed Howard University Homecoming. We've had a lot of fun, talked to a lot of good people here. It's always been fun for me to come back, I'll tell you right now.
I'm Glenn Harris at Millhouse's Barbershop in Prince George's County. Sports Talk. We come right back at you. It's the last time I'll say those words, at least on camera. It's hard to believe that so many years on the air have passed. Thanks for joining me on this journey, and thank you for joining me tonight. The people in the city.
Hey, Buck. Buck, Jim Vance, guys are veterans. Steve, I think I taught you a little bit of stuff, didn't I? You were a young boy, yeah, right? I know, that's right. First of all, I'd like to thank Dewey and Kathy Hughes. They're big time. At least Kathy, everybody knows her. Dewey is behind the
the scenes, taking care of business all the time. Jimmy, you know that. And I really appreciate it, because it's been 40 years in this business for me. I just turned 70 years old. I'm like, what in the world? And played a lot of ball before I even picked up anything. And that little young thing right there, I knew him when he was a baby, but he's a golf pro now. He's big time, man, sportscaster. Gus Johnson, who comes on the air all the time. I mean, these guys I worked with from day one, not, you know, and just try to help them out. And I was there for them when they needed me. And Terry Cornwell, my producer at Channel 8, they stuck with me all the way. I'm going to tell you something. I knew nothing about this business. I just could talk, I guess. And somebody gave me a break because I don't know anything else. I got my degree in physical education, which is not anything stupid. It's pretty rough. And I hung with that. And then somebody called me one day. I think it was Dewey Hughes or somebody called me and said, look, you want to go into sports broadcasting? I said, what? I didn't know nothing about this stuff. But I could always talk and I could always think about sports. And I went on the air. It's been 40-some years now. And all these names you all mentioned in here, Ernie Bauer, all these guys looked out for me a long time ago. And thanks, Ernie. And, you know, getting these awards, you know, when you're in the business a while, you get awards later on. You must have done something. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it. You know, and just like tonight when they called me and said this about this, I was like, what's going on? But I appreciate it. Anybody who had anything to do with this, I really appreciate it. And, you know, I know everybody, and I look at guys now. I'm looking at one of them out there, and I won't say anything. And I had a stroke, and my memory is terrible. And I just turned 70 years old, and I'm like, wait a minute, 70? That's out of the question. But I know one thing, some of the guys that were with me back in the day, when I knew everything, I don't know anything anymore, they hung with me and stuck with me a long time. Jim Vance, I appreciate your friendship. Me and Jim Vance had more dates than anybody in the world. He never showed up. I was there. I know, yeah. That's right, yeah. Thank you, Buck. And all the youngins you had behind you, I was there with you, man. And all the people that I may have forgotten their names, I'm sorry. My News Channel 8 crew is here with me right now. My brother Ronnie, who was a great ball player at GW, George Washington University. Thank you, Ronnie, for coming with me, man. Because I had a date, but she didn't call me back, so I said, okay. So I said, let me bring my brother with me, you know. There's a lot of things that I could talk about because I've been in this business a long time from the start. I mean, I hear a lot of you all coming from different places that you were. And you've been in the business a long time, but you didn't start here. I grew up here. I came here from New York City when I was 2 years old and got to know everybody, got to know Jimmy Vance and Buck and all these guys. And I was like, whoa, man, I really appreciate these guys. And some of the names I see around here now is slipping me because my memory is, I don't know who's ever had a stroke or anything, but it's slipping me a little bit, so, but I know you because I'm looking in your face and I know you know who I'm talking about. So I appreciate that. And I've never had a drink, a drug, a smoke in my entire life. And I said to myself, it doesn't matter because I'm sick anyway, so what's happening, man? So I guess it happens. As you get older, things happen to you. And so I accept it. That's okay. I really appreciate all my friends in this business because everybody's been nice. I don't know everybody here. Everybody's new. A lot of people are new to me, but they're so nice because they've been through the same things I've been through. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to produce, direct, or nothing. All I knew how to do was go on the air and do my job. Wayne Lynch from Channel 8 kept me under his wing, took me in 25 years ago. So I did 18 years in radio. So wait a minute, let me see what I have here. The gold circle, I'm not in the gold circle? How long is that? No, 18. I really appreciate being here, man. It's been a lot of fun. And as I go into my old age, I think 70 is getting old, isn't it? It's not? Okay. My brother doing me like this. Come on now, get out of here. I spoke at over 300 groups a year when I was in radio, doing a lot of area stuff. And I could speak a long time then, but I've lost some of my stuff because of my stroke. But I'm okay. But Buck, my man, Jimmy, you guys are still hanging with me, man. I love you guys. I love all of you all who have been there with me all the time. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
I have a little story about Glenn just to share with you. Glenn would walk past my office and bringing in sports stars to interview for a show on News Channel 8. And it was always a moment that I really looked forward to because I don't know too much about sports, but I know who the sports people are, or shall we say the sportsmen. And he always had such fabulous people. And the thing that always struck me about them as Glenn walked by, and they often stopped and said hello to me, was the warmth and affection that they had for Glenn. They treated him like Glenn, a younger brother or an older brother, but like a brother. And a lot of these people are household names and people that you all, I'm sure, have seen on television and watched in the sports arenas. And they just loved Glenn, and they respect you so much. So Glenn, that's why you're here tonight. That's one of the reasons you're here tonight. We love you. Well, the curtain is falling on our program tonight. Another great gold and silver circle ceremony. We'd like to congratulate everybody who's been inducted. We are all members of a wonderful family, and we want you to know that we're very proud of all of you, including those of you who will be inducted in the silver or gold circles one day. You can all see the individual tributes from this evening on the NATAS YouTube channel, and you can also do a search for capital Emmys, NATAS-NCCB, and feel free to share the links with others. Big thank you also to MXPI for making that possible for us tonight. You have helped to make television the profession that we all love, and we congratulate also the younger people in the audience, the students who've been here today. We look forward to seeing you at the next Gold and Silver Circle Awards.
So finally, we'd like to ask all of our gold and silver awardees to please come to the stage for a group picture in just a few minutes when we end our program. So special thanks again to our Circle patrons. You helped make this evening possible, along with all of our student volunteers as well. And of course, thanks to all of you for being here to join us in this special occasion tonight. Good night.